Let's build a kindling splitter with random stuff that's lying around the shop. It's that time of the year, and the inevitable is approaching.
Winter is coming.
It's time to hunker down and get ready for the long, cold winter. Who am I kidding? I live in Florida.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar.
Although it does get cold here in the winter and we do have a fireplace, we don't heat our home with firewood, so you won't catch me outside in suspenders chopping wood like that guy on TikTok that your wife secretly watches.
Babe, can you light a fire in the fireplace?
It's 74. And the AC is on.
Most of the firewood that we use is purchased by the bag, and it's the pre-split and seasoned hardwood. It's great for burning in the fireplace and the fire pit, but unfortunately a lot of the times the pieces in the bag are gigantic, so I have to split them by hand into something a little more usable. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to build a kindling splitter from scrap metal that I have lying around my shop. Now, I can make the whole thing on my CNC plasma table, but not everyone has one of those, so I wanted to build it from things that a lot of people generally have in their shop. I decided to go with a hexagonal design, and the dimensions that I chose are 8-inch diameter for the base and for the top ring. That should fit the biggest pieces of wood that normally come in the bags. To calculate the length of the pieces that I need to cut, I need to think like I'm in 10th grade geometry, and here's what I mean. A hexagon is made up of 6 equilateral triangles. To figure out the length of the sides based on the diameter from point to point, I just need to take the diameter and divide it by 2. That gives me the length of each side needed to form a hexagon. To make things easy, I'll be straight cutting the ends of all the parts, but ultimately, that will give me roughly the inner diameter of the opening. To get the outer angles right, you just need to know that a hexagon is made up of 6 120-degree angles. With that knowledge, I could set up a jig to 120 degrees and weld the sides together in pairs to start, and then connect them all together.
This is an example of something that's just too big for my needs. You could see that they tried to split it, but they didn't go all the way through with it. It must have hit a knot or something like that. But I'd like to be able to process this down into smaller pieces, kindling, even some smaller logs. So this is pretty much the goal. Not for, I'm not looking to, I don't split logs. I just need to split stuff that's a little too big into something that's a little more usable. This end might be a little too large. It's 7 inches.
That's what she said.
Another good one! You're on fire!
But if I can get it to fit on the small end into the hoop and then, break it down into smaller pieces and then split it down the middle, we'll see if I can get it to work on something like this. This is going to be a tough piece too. First thing I'm going to do is start with the top piece, the top hexagon. I have a 26-inch piece of scrap rebar that came with the house somewhere. It was outside holding up a sprinkler head. I'm going to cut it into 4-inch pieces so that each 4-inch will give me a side, and then 6 4-inch pieces will make up an 8-inch diameter hexagon. I'm going to cut them straight on the ends, and I'll show you how I'll build up the weld later.
For the base, I was all set up to use 1 inch wide by 1/8 inch thick flat bar. Since the total angle needed was 120 degrees, I set my angle gauge to 60 degrees and started to mark out my cuts. I measured out 4 inches, made some marks, and started to cut a few pieces. What I didn't realize soon enough was that I made a stupid mistake when measuring and cut those few pieces after measuring 4 inches on the outside edge instead of on the inside edge, so the pieces were too short. I started to lay out the new pieces and wouldn't you know it, I was out of material. And then I remembered that I have a CNC plasma table and I can have this done with a lot less effort if I use it. Work smarter, not harder. I hopped onto Adobe Illustrator and after a little beep boop beep action, I had a design ready to go in just a few minutes. Of course, all of the Fusion fanboys are going to be like, but Mike, why aren't you using Fusion 360? It's one of the most powerful blah blah blah. And while I totally agree Fusion is extremely capable, I went to school for graphic design, so I know Illustrator like the back of my hand. If I'm designing a super simple 2D part, there's absolutely no need for me to use a 3D program that I'm not familiar with just to ride the struggle bus all the way across town. I loaded a piece of 1/8 inch steel onto the table, and personally I like to clamp it down to an edge of the table just in case I bump into it or something dumb happens to move the sheet. I always clamp my ground directly to the part whenever possible. Once your part is designed, it's extremely easy to import it into SheetCam, pick the cut settings, and post-process the design so that it can be opened in Fire Control, which is the proprietary software that runs the Langmuir CNC plasma tables. If you want to see a more in-depth video showing how to make all of the different files needed to cut something on a CNC plasma table, let me know down in the comments. Also, while you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. A quick touch up on the backside with a knotted wire cut brush is all that it takes to knock the bit of dross off left behind after cutting the part out. I gave a quick check to the two parts and everything looks like it'll work great. The two uprights were made by cutting another piece of rebar that I had in half. I don't know if I've mentioned before how much I love this bandsaw, but I really do. I needed to take a blonde one off of one of the uprights to make them the same size, and look at how nice of a cut this saw is capable of.
Joe, look at this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
To attach the uprights, I used a couple of welding magnets to keep things together and added a few tacks. For the base, I should have done the same. Not sure exactly what I thought would happen here.
I have it just tacked together and I kind of like the way it looks. It's got, you know, kind of a rustic look with the rebar. And then the base is just to hold it down, so it's not as important. You're really going to only notice the top parts. And this is that big old log from before. And it easily fits all the way down. So now I just have to get the cutter situated. That's the finished blade. I did end up filing the whole top edge and stoning it. Mainly stoned it just to keep it polished so it'll resist any rust. It's pretty sharp. I mean, it's not razor sharp, but it's definitely sharp enough for splitting logs. So let's get this welded into place.
I was cleaning it off in the sandblast cabinet and I felt like something was missing, so I figured if I'm doing plasma cut parts, I might as well make it look good. I powder coated it, well, because I could. If you want to see how I built my powder coat oven, check out the powder coat oven build playlist on my channel. Also, while you're there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
You said that already!
I got a few different pieces to test out. This is some white birch. I've never seen this before, but it's all that I could find locally. This is some of what I usually get. I'm not sure exactly what it is, some kind of dried hardwood. And then this is that big piece that I started out with in the beginning. So let's see how it works. I haven't tried it on anything. I do have it on a couple of pavers just because the ground is pretty much sand. And it's a 3-pound hammer. Oh, the birch is pretty easy. Let's try some of this bigger stuff. This stuff's pretty tough. Gotta hit it like a man. And this is that really big one. It has some sort of knot or something right there. So I'm just going to try to take the edge off of it. Overall, I'd call it a success. I needed to make kindling and it did a really good job at that. If I were to build it again, I'd probably make it a little taller just so that the wood doesn't bottom out before it's finished cutting. And I'd maybe add some little wings to the blade to kind of force the logs open as they're coming down. The large logs were a bit tougher, but even after pounding on it, the blade is still nice and sharp and there's no damage to it at all. The powder coating did get a little scuffed up, but that's kind of to be expected. If you haven't seen my last video, I'm giving away an ultimate manual tire changer to one lucky viewer when I hit 5,000 subscribers. All you need to do is check out that video and all the details are laid out for you. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.